Yep. Yeah, I like how you see the progression there too. Like it aligns with the books perfectly.
Mm-hmm. And it would make sense that if you came from some consciousness basic state and then you got more advanced, eventually you could never go back to where you came from completely. You know, you would be bored there. You would be incomplete.
Yeah, I mean he spells it out for us right in our face.
Yeah.
I mean,
Is it running or is it stopped?
I just paused it for a minute. Like
Oh,
there's just like they switch to camera or whatever they do. So
yeah, they may have run out of batteries back then.
run out of the Duracells.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Sure, I know it's not very long. I know there's just a small gap, and then like they kind of I don't know. Is it playing? What the hell's going on here? There we go. There he is, enjoying his Misty 500s or whatever.
He said now I was
Depressed.
depressed, and you are. I am sure you are not depressed.
No.
And we can't stop now. Also. Have you understand? No. De nouveau.
Du musst dann in der Serie sagen. Und dann in der nächsten Serie wird er die andere.
Nein, aber mach nichts. Aber weißt du, es ist so schade, dass wenn man schon da ist, man kann auch auf 2 Sendungen machen. Warum nicht? Das ist einmalig.
You better move it.
Mark, you need something from me?
No, I'm okay. Thanks, Rob.
No.
Si gira, silenzio per favore.
Rolling.
Bob, will you tell us what this new goal is?
Well, it wasn't quite that simple. The new goal that reawakened me out of this was, as happens, I met another friend. And this other friend, I gave another type of name to simply because of the fact that I could not, how to put it, I couldn't understand him in any him. It's a he, she again. And I didn't want to use the he, she name, so what I called this new friend was Inspect, short for intelligent species, which meant that I was not an intelligent species. And a very, very deep and warm relationship developed with this non-physical being, and I never saw him in a physical form. He didn't have a form. He was just an energy. And we had, and that went on for a number of years until suddenly, I must say there's another part to that. And I asked where his home was. And he said, would you like to go on the way to my home? And I will show you. And I said, oh my, yes, please.
What's up?
And so he
My
did.
love.
And that became my new
Chris.
goal, was to become an inspect. One of this, because the exquisite, all the things that we express as being idyllic, love, joy, relationships, all these type of melding of unification was expressed when I went and just on the edges of this inspect's home. It was a beautiful, beautiful goal to be that. And that became my goal, was to grow and be an inspect. And my plans all shifted to go to that
centuries here
state
well.
of being.
Wow.
And this inspect gave me so many different beautiful things,
Chris
such
is
as
here too.
escorting
All
me
right.
into the future to see
Easy was.
my last time around as being
Chris is
human,
back.
this kind of thing. Until one day, one night, one afternoon, I've forgotten exactly when, the inspect in our particular meeting place, which was outside of time and space, said to me, this is our last meeting. And I uttered this great shock. Why? And
They
the
cut him
inspect
off.
said to me, because you are taking another path and you need to learn along that other path.
Surprise, surprise, right,
I said,
Dan?
well, will we?
Yeah, very
I
disappointing.
mean, it's like, come on. You're taking a different path. and then they abandon him, which he talks about next. I mean, come on.
Yeah, they show him his last reincarnation.
Yeah.
You see, that this is where the cognitive dissonance comes in. If you have the ability to leave with the intention, then your last incarnation is this one.
Yep. That's it. Bottom line.
The one you're in right now is your last one. There doesn't need to be any future incarnation. You have nothing else to do here. If you have woken up to the idea, like, hey, you know what? No more reincarnation for me. That's it. You're done. It's finished. Now, granted, the system will. I don't know what it is. Everybody's going to have a weakness.
Yeah,
but
man.
The system will try to lure you with that weakness.
Well,
Everybody's going to have one.
Yeah,
something as simple as chocolate. You know?
I'm sorry. Can you say that again, Dan?
It could be something as simple as chocolate. I don't know.
Anything, and you know, he's meeting up with these beings constantly, or this being constantly. He's getting a lay of the land, and then they just abandon him and say, "Oh, well, all right, Bob. Good luck." And then he shows up there for however many times. I think it was like over 20 times later, and they're not there. You know, and like he's supposed to learn and grow and evolve and blah, blah, blah. All the same crap that we hear constantly.
Anybody who's read Monroe's books knows this guy has been around the ringer here hundreds, if not thousands of times.
Yeah.
Going way back to ancient times.
Yeah.
All different types of lives. How much more learning do you need? Come on.
How much learning do you need with a memory wipe? Again, it goes back to the question we keep hammering. How can you come here? How can you learn and grow spiritually or as a being in any way, shape, or form if you can't learn or grow from your mistakes because of a memory wipe that is applied each and every lifetime?
Right, you can't learn that way. It made no sense. It makes no sense. But that's the magic of cognitive dissonance.
It is.
How many books about reincarnation talk about learning and this and that? How many interviews with these New Agers or so-called gurus? Mm-hmm. You know, just amazing.
It is, man. It is. Well said.
All right.
Each other again, and he says, not in this form. And I said, what have I done? Have I done it? He says, no. You have done nothing wrong.
Oh, you're a saint.
It's that you have gone in another direction, and you have to learn that other direction and get back to basics before you can go any further. And in that, the inspector winked out like that. It was gone. And I went back maybe 25 or 30 times to that meeting place. And the inspector was never there. He had really disappeared.
The inspector.
So that occasioned another depression, but it did trigger my left brain intellect. Don't you see? That was the point. It triggered
depression number
my
2.
Brain intellect to say, basics. What's meant by basics? And I started tracking down the basics of what I had missed. Apparently, I'd missed something very, very important. And so it's needless to go through all the searching, trying to find what I had missed, the basic. And I went through the humans, and that was a learning procedure. It took a long time to do. Until finally, I came upon this one thing, and that made the change. And that one thing was that many years ago, about perhaps if we go into time, say in somewhere in the 60s, because of this consciousness, this I, this mind, didn't know what to do with this out-of-body activity, had no idea what to do with it. So what I did is I used a phrase, a term, an idea that we have as humans that we have a total self. I don't like the word soul because it doesn't seem to fit. So I thought, I don't know what to do with this. To keep conducting experiments and going from Virginia to California was ridiculous. And how many times can you go to Mars and to the outer planets? There's just more of the same. And so what I did, I finally said, wait a minute. The basic that I had missed was what I'd been riding this vehicle. In other words, I had been using this navigator and this driver, this vehicle, all these years, and I had not taken the trouble to find out who's doing the driving, or as we in America put, what's under the hood of the thing I'm driving. And so I did. I began saying, that is a basic. And in looking at that basic, I opened a whole new pattern of finding out what that answer was. And that's a long thing, but that in turn did move me in a totally different direction and brought me to the knowledge that anything that I could conceive of now as a goal was inadequate to what the options or the availabilities are after I have graduated as being human. And that is the limitation that I see that humans place upon we, and I was a part of it, probably still am as a matter of fact. We place upon ourselves by our belief systems. We think that's only certain things that we can do, quote, after we leave here and are non-physical. We forget these other very simple patterns, that these are all based on local ideas, local ways of thinking and doing, or even what we call intelligence is only a very human system of measurement. And here are all these things, and they suddenly, by this process, opened up to me to discover what the graduate human, the being who graduates from this human system of learning, can be. And that's what I mean by when I say go on the interstate. The goals are so spectacular, so far beyond anything that we can even consider, that they are prime targets for anyone who has curiosity, which I do. Prime targets of the scientists to get into something where the real action is. You run out of action in time, space. There's a limit, but there's no limits in this. In this whole spectrum of consciousness that I say, that's what I'm talking about. How far does it go? I don't know how far it goes, but I do know one thing, that one of the routes that you can go, and that was one of my explorations, because I went and explored all this to see these potentials. One is that one route that you can take, and you can see the source of this, and this is a lot of the humankind. We all have a yearning, and we express it in the desire to go home. We express it in our going outward, in affinity, looking for other intelligent life, looking for things out in the universe, all these kinds of things. But the real part of it is we really want to do this key thing. We're looking for something else. And what we're looking for is the thing that's built into us from the beginning. And that is that, and we express it in our religions, we would like to go meet our Maker. Now, all I can tell you is that at the very least, because this could go on for a long, long time, I know how one could get on the interstate to go meet your Maker. And all I want to do, I have not met that Maker yet, but what I would like to do at some point, and that totality of me, and that's another story.
No.
We would like to go and, quote, not prostrate ourselves at the foot of our Maker, but
I don't need a mod.
let's
I
say
don't care what
to
people say.
shake that Maker's hand and say what a magnificent engineer he is.
Okay, I mean, really, let's just call it what it is, a magnificent engineer, Dan. Really? I mean, magnificent my ass. I mean, look, the guy, the thing, the entity that created all this is a shyster. It's pathetic. It's vile. It's stupid.
Now, before we go any further, once again, I believe in Jesus and I believe in having a Father, and these guys don't, and I don't care that they don't because it's none of my business. What I'm interested is in the deeper meanings of this conversation and what Robert or Bob Monroe has to say with his experiences on the other side. Like I said, I do believe that he's probably the Judeo-Christian or Christian or something like that. He was. Regardless, that's his business. It's not my business. If you don't believe in Jesus, that's your business. But I do believe in Jesus. And I don't believe in the way most people believe. So, because I have had experience with the name and the blood of Jesus. That is more valuable than anything else that anyone could offer. Saying that, it is important to listen to what this guy is saying and what the possibilities are on the other side and what is probably happening to most people who are still trapped in this matrix and still in love with this world.
It's the most pathetic creation you can just about possibly put out. You're filled with, like you were pointing out earlier, cognitive dissonance. You got pain, you got suffering, you got all these other things going on. You've got the mental blockages and everything out under the sun, and yet the creator is magnificent. I mean, really? Are we really going to go there?
See, Bob Monroe was a pioneer because, I mean, remember, this started in the 50s. Mm-hmm. Okay? He's not, best I can tell from watching his interviews and reading his books, this is a person that did not want to look at negative information. He doesn't like to deal with negative information. At best, he was trying to look at things in a neutral, sort of materialist, scientific way. Mm-hmm. And then dealing with the fact that he was probably a materialist before the experiences, and then still like did not want to give it off to some religion or something like that, or turn it over to I mean, he could have easily made like a cult out of this, right? But he didn't. At the same time, this thing that he doesn't want to deal with negative information affects everything that he's going to tell you. You can't go there. You cannot go there. The best accounts we have of the creation of the human being comes from his Lush account and other ancient records like the Sumerian mythologies. Human beings are created, it's a sloppy job. It's done for enslavement purposes. Either way, Lush form or whatever the Sumerians were writing about 6,000 years ago, humans were created to do, work for the gods, to produce to toil for them, the creation in the Sumerian mythologies is admittedly flawed. It's like they're good enough. It's kind of a shitty engineering job. We did the best we could. It works.
Yeah.
It works. Kind of like the old Yugo. Remember the car?
Yes. Oh yeah. Without the seatbelts and
the
engine wasn't the engine up front or something.
The Yugo was a very tin canny, Yugoslavian car. I remember back in the 80s there was a Cadillac dealership near my house, and they literally gave you one for free if you bought a new Cadillac. Buy a new Cadillac, get a Yugo free. I mean, that's how cheap the car was.
Buy one ship box, get it free.
Yeah, exactly. So, No, he doesn't want to go there.
Think about
He keeps defaulting back to this learning experience, which makes no sense. At the same time, he tells you it's dangerous. The truth blends in. People's minds play all kinds of tricks on them, right? NDE experiences. You can read thousands of them. You can see after a while the pattern. They all are experiencing information that's valuable. That
Stop here for a minute. I see him here. Nanaki says, buy used book called Living from the Heart by Paran Bear. You'll love it. Okay. I'll think about it. I got a few books I ordered from another guy. What is his name, by the way? Let's see. There's another guy that has a lot of understanding about astral planing and the afterlife. Where are you, dude? I know I just subbed to. Can't find it now. Anyways, doesn't really matter. He was a guy that was diagnosed with cancer. He worked with that institute out of Virginia, University of Virginia. What is his name? I'm thinking we're going to do something from that astrology. He's got some interesting things. Ryan's still looking. I was buried. I just married. I just married it. I just subbed it. I'm getting hungry. I'm cooking dinner. So, anyways, yeah. I'll think about it, Brian. Let's see what else is there. Unique smells. Yeah, I imagine they do. Musty smell, huh? I'll have to make sure to pray over it and rebuke any spirits that are associated and send it back to where it came from. 70 times 7. Anyways, there's more to this.
that they're relating to you, and they're all mixing it up in like a blender in their head with whatever cosmology they have. So if they're Catholic, it's going to be injected with some kind of forced interpretation into that religion. If they're a different religion, it's going to do that. If they're materialism, well, it's sky's the limit then, because how many materialists have had NDEs and come back and go, they can make, they don't know what to make of it. The beings can appear. There was this one woman once, I remember some being appeared to her as she's having an NDE. It transformed into like a female figure for her. She started asking questions, and the being was like, yeah, I made myself appear this way for you because I knew it would be comforting to you.
Yeah. It's openly admitting it.
Mm-hmm.
Openly admitting, I knew it would be comfortable for you, so here's your illusion, here's your deception, and eat it up. Thank you. Next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, get back to work.
That's right. Get back to the field.
Get back to Earth. You gotta make more whoosh.
Get back to that Apple factory and give us those processors. Yeah, it's just
so frustrating. But at the same time, you can hear the truth in the middle.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about kind of breaking things down, decoding what they're actually saying, and there are always hints. You and I both know that. I mean, it's they always give themselves away, but it's just a matter of like having all this information that's like padded in between those truth bombs is what distracts people. And that's what happened to me. I mean,
before we get back to the video, we had 4 questions, so might as well answer them now.
Sure.
Okay, so John Doe writes, how many years of study did it take for you to come to your current understanding of this realm, if you want to call it that? Yeah, realm, covers whatever cosmology you have.
That's what I like.
Anything can be a realm. Like I have my own theories about it, and Mark has his own theories. And how many years? Wow. I would say 45 years, maybe, because it was once I made a commitment. I have to say, once I made the commitment to actually try to figure out the meaning of life, the nature of life, and the afterlife. It took me maybe 12 years, 12 to 15 years.
Takes a while.
Of deep research, getting sidetracked, going all kinds of dead-end directions, learning about my own cognitive dissonance, learning about my own filtering mechanisms and indoctrination and brainwashing that I had to deal with. 10, 15 years. How about you, Mark?
Well, that's a kind of a deep question. I would kind of say that not far off. I mean, like, okay, the condensed version is that, like in, my introduction into the voting system was the Al versus Gore thing at 18, 19 years old. And that was like mind blowing to me. I was like, okay, so I can vote for someone, the country could vote for someone, and the overall amount of votes can't matter. Fast forward, of course, we have the thing that happened in that year where everything fell and blah blah blah. And I didn't go there in New York City, and then there were questions about that, and then of course, like, I guess it was all about like my process was kind of deconstructing the political stuff, the ops that are played against us, like that. I was stuck in that zone for quite a while, and then I guess if I had to put a number on it, like 2006-7, that's when things really started to ramp up, and then it was just a longer progression from there. So I would say if I had to put like a number on it spiritually, not distraction, but like spiritual wise, I would say maybe 10 years, 12 years. So we're right around the same area. Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
You put effort into it. It's 10 long years.
Yeah, and in that moment, I mean, like like even when we talk about those years, they were baby years, right? Like they weren't they weren't like massive realizations. They were just kind of like at the beginning phases of like the spiritual evolution of things. So I mean, it was all a progress, at least for me, So.
And then True Detective Season 1 has 2 questions. Is there a way to tell if all these YouTube channels are being honest when they say their music is 432 hertz and all the other hertz they claim to be using? And then the second question is, what do you guys think of the random times? I think he meant in the years.
That's actually a she, but that's all right.
Oh, random times in the ears, any meaning or significance? I'm not sure what that question is about. This first question is, I don't know. That's why I listen to some of that stuff, but if I'm going to meditate, I try to use the original Gateway tapes because I think they were somewhat vetted.
And the other thing, like I've heard, and this, just based on what I've done with uploading YouTube, and I'm sure you've experienced this, and a big realization for me is like if I try to upload an original, I'm talking about just an upload, not a stream, but like I record a video and try to upload it to, for instance, Odyssey was one of them, where I uploaded it. It was a 12-minute short little rinky-dink video, 10-minute video, whatever it was, and they said no, I can't upload it because of the format that it was in. It was too high quality or whatever. And so there is no doubt, like when I record a YouTube stream, so the stream that we're on tonight, if I record it in the highest quality possible, which is what I do on the side, what YouTube does is it transcodes it. So that means the video is going to be different, the audio is going to be different. It downsizes the quality of the recording so that it saves space on their servers, which makes sense from a business perspective, right?
Sure.
But that shows that, and I mean, I could pop a video, Dan could pop a video and say, oh, Dan and I are talking in 432 hertz. And if it's not the original file and it goes through the servers that are on this platform, it's likely not going to be what it claims to be. Like, so, I don't necessarily believe it. I mean, I'll still seek out 432 hertz. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Like, I will still seek out it. Like, there's some great Pink Floyd tracks out there. Like, almost all that stuff's been converted to 432. Now, is it actually 432? I don't know, but I don't think it is, because just based on the things that I've done on YouTube, I know that for instance, this is the best way to put it. If I upload a 5 gigabyte video file, and then I go to YouTube later on to download it, it's going to be like 2.5 gigs or 2 gigs. So they're compressing and messing with it somehow. So yeah. I don't think it's true. I think the only way you're really going to get those types of files, number one, the best files out there audio-wise are FLAC. Those are uninterrupted. They're not manipulatable at all, unless the person making them is manipulating you and throwing in some frequencies. FLAC files are king. They're uncompressed. They're pure. But again, like, you have to trust where they're coming from. For instance, like the Monroe tracks. There are a bunch of them that I have. There's barely any MP3s that I've gotten from them. They're almost all FLAC, because you know that they can compress things down, like MP3s, things like that. I mean, they're compressed. It's just the way it works. So that means they're taking down the quality that's out there and making it more convenient for their servers space-wise. And from a business decision, again, it makes sense. But the point is no. A true file that you're going to get from someone is going to be a FLAC, or it's going to be what it was initially configured for. Like, I even looked into how to make my streams 432 hertz, and then when I started seeing how it made no difference whatsoever to make, like, you and I sitting here today, like, you could set it up as 432 and we may be able to record it in OBS, but once it hits the servers of YouTube, they automatically downgrade it on purpose, because it's going to add multiple gigabytes to our talk that they don't feel they need to host. So
right. And True Detective corrected it. So it was the question was supposed to be, what do you guys think of the random tones in the years? Any meaning or significance? I don't know. I mean, they try to make the music so it sounds good, or it all depends on the atmosphere they're going for. Some of these things are marketed as dark meditation, and other ones are light and love meditation. And the music is Isn't it amazing that human beings can can create music that resonates as a feeling?
Well, they also kind of roll things out too, Dan, right? Like they I mean, what we've seen with the industry, especially at least with the music industry, is how they do things in decade-long forms. Like, you have classic rock, you have death metal, you have jazz, you have EDM, and on and on and on. And it seems like all the time, like, they're condensed into these 10-year periods. And it's, at least from my understanding, I'm not saying this is completely accurate, but from my understanding, from what I've looked into, that, the switch over from 432 hertz to 440 was purposeful, and it happened in the big jazz band era, decades and decades and decades ago. So, like, we've kind of been in this, and again, from my understanding, is that it was meant to throw us off of like 432 hertz is supposedly in unison with the frequency of Earth, so it's more grounded, I guess you could say. I mean, at least this is my understanding of it. So and that all started with the big band jazz era. After that, it right after that, it just everything was switched to 432 hertz. So make of that what you will, but YouTube definitely compresses files, as does Odyssey and Rumble. So,
And then the last question is from Robert. I'm going to say Horsefall. The only doubt I have with regards to this being a trap is the possibility it's some kind of game, escape the maze, puzzle,
Sure.
etc. Either way, game or trap, our escape is the goal. What do you think?
good, Dan. I'd like to hear your answer.
Well, it's definitely designed like a game. But I mean, you're playing a Psycho's game.
Exactly.
The maker, the designer of the game is obviously a psychopath that has no empathy. So the game maker is deranged and greedy and selfish for Loosh, whatever that is. And yeah, but it doesn't matter. The ultimate end is for you to get out. Now, granted, there is some kind of probably a reward that you earn by getting out of here, because you're going to be elevated to a incredibly sophisticated level of being like spiritually streetwise in the spirit realm. You're not going to be taken in by this ever again. I would hope not. I don't see how that's possible. Once you regather all your memories and put yourself all back together, you're going to be pretty amazing being at that point.
Yeah.
Talk about,
Yeah, it's I'm sorry, what was the question again?
It's the only doubt I have with this regard being in regards to being a trap is the possibility that it's a game.
Yeah, I mean, like Wayne and I talked about this actually quite extensively in the Wayne Bush series, and the option's on the table, right? I mean, but there's a big but with that. Maybe it's true. Maybe we're crazy. Okay, it kind of reverts back to what we were talking about earlier, right, Dan? How if you agree to come here and it's a game and it's this and that, and you don't know what it's like to have pain, suffering, love, happiness, joy, all that stuff, if you don't have a reference point from a previous experience, then you're just going into it blind. If you go into an experience like this and your essence is lost along the way with it, you don't have a reference point. You're just hearing information and saying, okay, yeah, that sounds good. All right, I'll go and join this thing. So even if it's a game, does it really matter? Because it's still a shit show. It's still a dumpster fire. It's still a situation where you have to learn your way out. You have to be dedicated to get out, and to me, it's not cool. It's not something that should it's too extreme. Where is the fail-safe mechanism that we each have? Why isn't there an inner knowing that, okay, yes, we are in a game? Why isn't there something? I mean, why does it take so much for Dan and I and all of us sitting here today to get to this point? Why are there so few of us on top of that? There's very few of us.
Yeah, sure. I think it was Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, Hard Target. Was it Hard Target? There's a movie that he made, and then Scott Adkins made a sequel to it, I think, where essentially it's a game. These psychos put humans on a hunting field to hunt them, right?
Yeah.
Technically, that's a game, but it's a psycho game.
And why is it so well thought out? I mean, I mean, why is it so hard to see this thing through? You know, you and I have talked about this. Talked about it on the channel a number of times too. Like if it is a game, then why is it so freaking difficult? I mean, you have to ask that question. I mean, it is like, it's beyond anything reasonable. To me, it all points to some sort of parasitic system. It is so well thought out that to me, it's so hard for me to wrap my head around it being a game. I just can't. I can't. I mean, it would have to be a little bit easier than it is. And it's
very different. It's like anything else, a lot of things humans do mimic the systems because we have psycho people out there and they recreate these systems for themselves. You can even something as simple, and I'm not saying they're psycho, but just a comparison of how you have the free will to leave, but yet they keep you there. If you go into a very talented car dealership, you're not leaving without buying a car.
Yeah.
Now you can leave anytime you want, but if the salesman's that good, if they know how to talk to you and they know how to convince you, you are going to go home with that car.
That's right. They'll make sure that your credit check pans out.
Whatever it takes. How many commercials are? We'll do whatever it takes to get you into that car. Now I'm not saying they're evil or anything. I'm just saying it's a business. But I'm saying that you're free to leave. But if they're that good, I mean, the system here is designed so you're free to leave. But we're going to make sure that there's so many obstacles in your way that you're not going to want to leave. It's like that. How many songs tell us the truth? We're spirits in the material world.
Yep.
Hotel California.
Oh man, great example.
Right.
Great example.
How many songs out there telling you how movies, entertainment, they're all showing you the reality here.
So true, bro. That was a great example. Sold Human says, when we die, the Matrix Maker says, quote, it's just a prank, bro. Stop, it's just a prank. Yo, stop the prank, bro. Exactly. Shout out to Sold Humans. It's great to see you, my friend. I hope you're doing well.
All right, we're almost to the end.
Let's move along and get this going. There are some more questions, but let's I know we've been going a while, Dan, so.
What a beautiful designer he is.
Oh, beautiful.
She is.
She.
And go get into a new game with the maker. And that's only one. And it seems endless options that one can take. You can be a maker yourself if you want. What you learn here are the basic tools of being a maker.
That's pretty profound.
Should it not?
Oh, indeed.
You want to add something? Yeah, it is profound.
Yeah, basically, and you're caught in this trap. When you get out, you pretty much can do anything you want.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want, but as long as you don't fall for the BS.
And this is now we're getting right to the end here, I think.
Mm-hmm. Bob, I've heard you speak many times.
Bob needs a Misty 500.
Ooh. Oh, man.
Yeah. Why don't you just go sleep with them already? There's a few more minutes. Okay, so yeah, this is when they do we can talk, Dan. Basically, there's nothing at this point. It's just kind of a view of the Monroe Institute. So
it's just some camera footage, B-roll that they took, and then the Italian guy says Gira, which he's basically telling Bob Monroe to turn around, to do that spin, where he's looking around everything, and that's it. That's the end of the video. That's it. That's everything. Any other questions? Anything else?
Oh yeah, there's some questions. How you doing over there, by the way?
Yeah.
I mean, you're all right? Okay. All right. So, let me get to the questions here. We'll we'll do one question per person. There's a few backed up. Candidly asked, what are these vibrations about? Breaking a barrier of some kind? So she's asking, like, what are these vibrations about breaking and burying some kind? It's
the out-of-body
OBE. Yeah.
I think it's just it's changing a frequency.
Forms. Yeah, frequency.
Yeah, you're it's like the static between radio stations. You're tuning out of the human body, and you're tuning into a different dimension that's going to have some noise when you transition from one state to the other.
Totally agree, and I think it also has to do with dissuading us from looking outside the body too. I really think that's a part of it.
Yeah, I think it can't be avoided though. I think this state of existence incarnate into human form is so low, it's so degrading that and who knows? I mean, a consciousness is probably our souls are so way beyond this that you can't help but create some noise when that lion gets out of the cage. Is allowed out of the cage.
I mean, just think about all the NDEers that talk about, like, they were thrusted back in their bodies violently. It was like one of the worst experiences, pre-birth memories. They talk about it. I mean, so it does seem to fall in line. It's like it's just condensing our consciousness, our awareness to a minimal form.
Yep. And what else? Any other questions?
Yeah. Seth Rakes, good to see you, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Says, what do you guys think about people who say they don't have an inner voice or monologue? I just heard about this earlier this week. It's eerie to me.
Yeah, that's weird.
I have my opinions on that, but go ahead.
Well, I mean, there is that theory that there are certain people that are literally like NPCs.
Yeah.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. It could be also like a lower level consciousness incarnates as a human, which shouldn't be. They shouldn't be in that state. So they're kind of like, I mean, you meet people sometimes. You're like, wow, what the hell is going on? Not much is going on in there.
Yeah, no, I mean, dude, I agree with you. It's one of the things that the vegan skeptic and I talked about. Like, it seems, it really, look, again, like there's no room for discrimination or saying anything when it comes to this, because we just don't know. There's no reason to treat anyone differently because they may not have an inner monologue with,
It could be that they're newer. They're a younger, more naive spirit, and they will be here thousands and thousands of times before they get anywhere.
Sure, and it makes sense, right? I mean, if you come here for the first time and you're lost, you lose your essence, your eternal nature that's like built within, then it's easy to get lost. I mean, it makes sense. We probably all were there. So that's why you cannot look at dividing things between NPCs and real beings, even though there's, in my opinion, quite a bit to suggest the NPC thing exists. I'm with you. I mean, like, my first assumption and kind of running assumption is, like, if you don't have that inner monologue, then that seems to kind of point in that direction of the NPC thing, but I'm not going to treat anyone different because of it, because just exactly what you said, Dan. It's it could be their first time, could be a young spirit soul, whatever the case may be.
And to be honest with you, I reject, like I said, with the whole oneness thing. I've learned after many years of studying this stuff. I reject that. But I also reject all this other stuff we're told. Like, we're told all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so somebody that somehow gets this guru label attached to them can say something, and everybody runs around like, oh, we have to do it this way or that way. And, like, you're told that your inner monologue isn't you. I don't know about that. I'm like, I think it's me. It's me talking to me in my head. I'm thinking. It may not be. It's not my whole me, it's a me that doesn't remember all the other lifetimes I've been here. It's a me that doesn't remember where I came from and where I'm going.
Look at that.
It's a me that's trapped in this current human form. It's still me thinking in there. Just because I don't know.
What do you think about, like, I kind of want to branch off from you saying that. Like, one of the things that has always confused me, and I hate even talking about this stuff, but
Silliness.
let me just say it, like, you know, I guess throughout my life I've kind of known when it's like my inner monologue, inner dialogue, whatever they want to call it, thoughts, and they're like, you can tell when it's you, but then you kind of have those intrusive thoughts, right? Like where they're really, you can just, we'll just say it right flat out, like they're fucked up. You know, like, so how do you, even though like we can sit here and you know, rationally and say, yeah, that's not something I'd ever do or carry out or this or whatever, but I mean, how do you divide the line? Just because you're thinking and you're connecting with the real you that is like kind of behind the scenes, how does that kind of transfer with you know, the really negative things that the thought forms? I mean, like, so you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've given that a lot of thought, actually. And my personal theory about it is that we are in human form stuck in a cutoff from our natural consciousness's ability to communicate, which is telepathy. Just, I have information in my head, I'm going to send it to you, you receive it, and you process it. And it can be a vast amount of information. It can be my entire existence. Here, I'm going to give it to you, or I'm going to give you this part. That's cut off. True. But it leaks. There's leakage going on constantly. Yes. That's why we have psychics, mediums. You have a psychic, like I had that psychic experience where I found the arrowhead in the ground.
Oh, that's on your website, by the way.
Yeah,
overwatchproject.com.
Under artifacts. Mm-hmm. If you think about it, you know, you're walking around in human form, and there's all kinds of telepathic traffic around you, and then on top of that, there's technology that could potentially cause that also, and then you have intrusive thoughts, so that probably aren't your thoughts. But if a genuine, like, there's a lot of fraud out there, but a genuine psychic that is connecting to like some serial killer or something they're helping the police hunt down, they're going to have some intrusive thoughts that they're going to find repulsive. It's not coming from them. They're just picking up what their target is. And if you're completely, you know, just wandering around the world, and these things are, you know, it's like to me, it's like a radio station, the old radios in the cars where you have bleed over, you know, and you're hearing something else. It's not.
That's a great analogy. Yeah, and that's kind of how I look at it too. But I don't know, like part of me, it seems, I don't know. I don't know. There's really not much else I can really add to it, except that I remember as a child, more specifically, like having them more often, and I'm like, this is not me. This is not something I'd ever think of. And then, like, you know, later on in life, you look at something like thought forms and how you can build upon them, like we were talking about even earlier with Jerry Marzinski and his work with schizophrenics and how they progress. I mean, we're condensing things, obviously, but
you might be being messed with by some.
That's my opinion of it. Yeah, that's what I think happens. Yeah.
You mean telepathically messing with you?
Yeah.
You know, and
feeding in on your frequency. Or
as soon as you realize what's going on, like we do and our listeners do, you can quickly turn that around. You know, you can repel these things easy. They don't want to mess around with people and beings in the know. They only want to mess around with ignorant people.
It's true. It's true. Those that kind of are, and it's not even like, yeah, I mean, ignorant, but I also think it's like vulnerable, like spiritually vulnerable, right?
Yeah, sure.
It's really sad how it kind of all, I don't know, it's just all part of the bullshit, right? I mean, it's just sad. It's sad that it has to be this way.
Yeah, somebody wrote, Dan, is it possible that you are a bored immortal spirit who programmed your own reality and then mind wiped yourself before entering the program? And same with Mark and with his reality.
I've heard that. I've heard this before. So
yeah, like honestly, we're just going with like how many times I said it. I'm trying to get to the truth, as close to truth as possible.
Yeah.
By taking in the totality of information available and keep adding to that and keeping my cognitive dissonance and other cognitive issues under control so I can get a clear picture of what's going on. And sure, I have all kinds of plausible alternate theories. You know, and some
you
of
want to
them,
expand on any of that?
Sure. I mean, I have one theory where, yeah, this could be actually some kind of game, because when you're out of it, you don't, you may have sort of a sense of that it's possible that once you're out, the suffering doesn't matter anymore, and then you go right back in to play again.
But isn't that what we're seeing then?
Yeah, see that doesn't really work out, because I don't think that fits my what do you call
rationale?
No, my moral standards.
Yes.
My internal moral compass
morals and
would
ethics.
not allow continued suffering.
Yeah,
it just wouldn't allow it.
Exactly.
Empathy has to come from the spirit. It can't come from the human. It's internal to your consciousness. Yeah. That's why we have evil people out there that don't have any empathy. That's what is possessing that, incarnated into that human, is a consciousness that's different than mine. I don't resonate with it. It doesn't resonate with me. And Monroe mentioned that, yeah, we all, no matter how bad or good we are, we all continue after human form. Mm-hmm. He didn't say whether or not, it's good. It's going to be good. Yeah. He didn't say that. He just said you're going to continue. Continue is a neutral statement. It doesn't, so.
And it's
the one that makes the most sense. I'm sorry, but the one that I keep coming back to, because it fits all the holes. I don't have to try to force it here or there. Yeah. Is the reincarnation soul trap?
Yeah, it all feeds in. I mean, if the again, I know we repeat ourselves, but if the memory wipe didn't exist, if the light wasn't, if you can't look at the light objectively, and how it's like this love bomb, it's more powerful than any love that we've experienced. I know we talk about this constantly, but if you can't look at that and see that as a problem, and how immediate it is, immediate, and how deathbed premonitions, visions, and visitations play a role, and how they line up perfectly with NDEs, and you can't look at that and see that there's a problem there, and that it's clear that, there is prep work that goes on in deathbed premonitions, visions, and visitations, where it's set up in a perfect way that, basically what they're doing is they're priming the pump for the person that's dying to make sure that they go along and go to the light And it pops up over and over and over again. And then you look at NDEs and we see the same bullshit.
Yep.
And there's no room for you or I'm sorry, there's no room for you or I to sit here and say, okay, hold up, wait a minute. Let me get my bearings. I just came from Earth. I just came from this crazy experience. Let me regain my composure. No. It's immediate. It's immediate. Why is it immediate? Why can't it just chill and wait? Why is it putting so much pressure on everyone? I mean, that has to be at the forefront. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. See, because
Very insightful.
we know from countless accounts
3 people who
that
maybe are hearing this.
your thoughts become instantaneous reaction when you're out of body. Even Monroe, he was able to snap to places.
Yep.
Your thoughts activate, make you move or whatever. When you die or enter a near-death state, you're immediately distracted so that you stop thinking about what you would think about, like who am I? Where do I go from here? Or what's going on? You might, before you can even say what's going on, which you would get an answer to, you're going to have some. And that, the only difference I have between some of your theories and mine is I think most of the time my theory is, it's an opinion, but most of the time I think that the relatives and loved ones we meet, most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time are in fact them. And the only reason I say that is because if your relatives are in a cult and you drift away from that cult and they're still part of that cult, they're going to be doing everything in their power to pull you back into that cult.
It's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah.
Or it could be religion, or it could be materialism. If they're part of some group think and they bought into it, they're going to work to support that. They're going to work to support the Matrix, the Lush Farm. They're going to work for it because they think it's the right thing to do. They convinced themselves.
That's right.
That's a great point. The only thing I can really add to that is that see where kind of like the disconnect comes with everything and how we cannot know with any certainty is the fact that time doesn't exist. We don't know that you and I are sitting here right now and experiencing a portion of our essence doing some other bullshit within the Matrix, right? So if we take that into account, there's a lot of unknowns there, and we cross over. Who's to say that a portion of us, or a portion of our loved ones or whoever is there acting as a conduit? Meanwhile, they're already reincarnated back on Earth. I mean, it's possible because of the whole time manipulation thing. I leave it open, but personally, I find it hard to wrap my head around. I'm like you, like I'm kind of in the position where I'm open, where some of them could be legit and then some of them can't. But really, this is kind of like just between both of us, it's kind of like a mute point, because if you kind of boil it all down, if let's just say our loved ones are appearing and they're legit or they're fake, it doesn't matter. Like, because if they're legit, they're still stuck in the Matrix. They're still trying to give us advice and help us and move us along within the construct that they themselves are still stuck in. So it's a lose-lose situation is how I look at everything. Like, and I keep an open mind with all of it, but in the end, it makes no difference, because if they're still stuck in here, what good are they doing me? They're just ushering me in based on preconceived notions that they've learned within the overall control system.
Yeah.
I mean,
either way, the results are the as are the same, so it doesn't really matter.
Exactly.
Just, I got my theory, you got your theory, but the results are the same.
Yeah, that's the problem.
The key is, as soon as you are out, when your body like Monroe said, once your body no longer is able to contain your consciousness. It exits as soon as you're out. You need to reject all communication
Everything.
immediately, and then have a thought of I want to see, everything from outside everything. Just go to a place where you can overwatch.
Overwatchproject.com.
Yeah, where you have the Overwatch position. That's why I chose that name. If you're in the Overwatch position, you see everything.
Yeah.
You're almost outside. You're outside everything. You're You're able to observe the entire thing, and then you can know what's going on more than anybody else in the middle of it.
I love it.
Right?
That's great.
And then from there you simply have the intention of, okay, I want to remember everything, where I came from, every lifetime I've had, just bring it all back.
Yeah. All the memories beforehand. Or even entered this.
Yeah. If there are fractured parts of myself out there doing other
rein
things,
them in,
pull them all back in, and then have like a little self-contained. In the Marvel movies, in Marvel movies, he's a bad, evil figure. But there is a realm where he sat on this throne, Thanos, where it's just kind of like this asteroid floating in nowhere, and there's nothing there. It's just him basically. He interacts with any being almost from in a command position, where he sits there and just.
So he zones in on each one, is what you're saying?
Your own little alone space.
I'm sorry, say that again? I'm sorry.
You want to have your own little alone space. Like a micro universe that's just you. So you can get, and from there you can just pull yourself all back together.
That's what matters most, right? I mean, it's just I like to say it's like, we could sit here and say, yeah, we're wrong about every goddamn thing that we talk about. But in the end, it's like if you don't allow yourself that isolation tank or that isolation realm that you created that's impenetrable and incapable of being messed with, then you're never going to know, right? You can always kind of be open to manipulation. So doesn't everyone deserve that? I mean, that's
sure. Even if we're completely wrong, and these other people, gurus and new agers and everybody else is right.
All right. Yeah.
If we're all right, then if it's all love and light, surely they won't be mad at me for taking some alone time.
Thank you. That's exactly what I say. That's what I would say. And I have the woman, what's her name, Melissa, over at Love Covered Life, and she says that that we're fundamentalist for thinking with a sovereign intention, and because we don't want to go to the light. I mean, it blows my mind. It's like, what's wrong with just taking a little initiative, looking out for yourself, and again, strip away everything. Say we're all wrong. Everything is on the up and up here, and that the light is everything as it claims to be, and everything is correct, as advertised with experiencers and this and that. Then, like you said, can it wait? It can wait. What's it going to do? Kick us in the ass? Is it going to kill us? It can't kill us. I mean, what's it going to do?
Right, and love would never hold that against me, would it?
No, it's going to come back and it's going to give you a kiss right on the cheek, Dan.
Right, so it's all fine. It's all good. Why would everybody try that then?
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
All right, let's...
So that's it. Are we...
Are you okay? Are you okay with taking maybe 3 more questions, or how you doing over there? I know we've been going a long time compared to our normal talks. Okay.
3 more questions. I can do 3 more questions.
All right, Dan. It's been a lot of fun, man. I've really enjoyed this conversation. I love being able to go deep with you, man.
This is the best one we've had, I think.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Yeah. I love it. Okay, so Ion Sky says, do either of you have knowledge on night terrors? Not bad dreams, not nightmares, but night terrors. My son had night terrors for years. Extremely traumatizing for the parent My son's night terrors consisted of appearing 100% awake, but pointing to invisible entities and screaming things like, "They're coming. They're going to kill me." But my child was in complete trance. He appeared totally awake, alert, but was in another realm. We would not wake him. He saw things and was terrorized, like maybe from another lifetime. These terrors began as an infant to 14 years old.
Wow. Okay.
That's a long
I actually
time.
I have personal experience with that. I mean, I don't know about that kid. He may have some other thing in balance or something, and maybe a doctor should look at it. But as far as what I experienced, um, I don't know exactly if it was it may have been. I have a predisposition for freedom, and as you know, um, um,
How dare
my
you?
best chance, my best
Freedom of conscience.
possible memory of a pre-life before this one was as a Revolutionary War soldier. And nobody, wasn't anybody special. The only reason I know the person even existed is because there's a tombstone website for a cemetery search that had the name that I saw in a dream of our memory that I had. And before that, when I was little, from a very early age till maybe 10, 12 years old, I would have this very scary, terrorizing, recurring dungeon torture, medieval times, horrific pain and starvation, being punished for something. I can just imagine it was probably because I'm like flipped off the king or something. Said, "Who are you to tell me what to do?"
Shove that
you.
crown up your ass.
And but that was a and constant thing. And I remember there's a museum I went to that had a section that had medieval torture stuff, and some of it looked familiar to me.
Boy.
But that was, I would wake up covered in sweat,
Wow.
frightened, kept thinking there were monsters under my bed. I was constantly, it was rough. It was rough. And my parents would, typical Italian, "Oh, you don't worry about it.
It's
Grow it."
okay. Hey, oh, wait. Here, have some pasta.
Yeah. But,
Let me make you some malaga. No, it's but it's a serious thing. I can't say that I have it. I had it as extreme, but I think my suggestion would be to kind of, well, I mean, I assume they ended because you said they were till 14, but
mine ended like when I was 10 or 12.
Okay, 10 or 12. Okay,
And eventually they just started fading. And that's why I think it could have been some distant, traumatic lifetime where.
It's interesting time, right? Puberty too. Like you're kind of switching over into your new phase of life physically. So, and then there's the whole brainwave thing. But yeah, I mean, like I'll leave like a few short ones. Like I remember being afraid of the quote unquote the boogeyman, right? As a child, and always worried that there was something under my bed and this and that. A movie that really kind of spells it out and blatantly shows Loosh is Monsters Inc. I mean, it's unbelievable what it shows there.
Yeah.
I mean, and it makes sense. I mean, I think everyone as a child goes through these kind of night terrors in some degree. Now, does it mean it's going to last from infancy to 14? No, but I think everyone goes through it for portions of time or longer periods of time. And it could sadly be something, especially like if it's long term or even for any sort of extended period of time, even if it's like a year, 2 years, something like that, it could be some really sick things like life scripting. I hate to simplify it like that, but we know it exists, and it could be part of like the vengeance or retribution for something in a past life that was perceived karmically or through sinning or judgment or something. I mean, I know it sounds stupid, but that's what they do. I mean, they link these karmic things, these judgment things, and they pin them back on us. Meanwhile, they get to skate free with all their bullshit and not be held accountable for everything that goes on here and how flawed everything is. But I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. I can't say with any certainty. There's no way to know with any certainty whatsoever. But if you are a mother or a father out there, teaching your child about how powerful intention is now is really important, because what you do is you empower them now at a young age, and what they'll do is carry that forth as a lesson. And they'll be more firm in their resolve as an adult too. So, I mean, that's the best I can say. And as a side note, I'd like to mention there's a video on my channel about early childhood development and how key those moments are and how it molds us into our teens and adults.
One of my favorite videos you made.
Yeah, I think it's so important to know that.
I linked to it recently in a few videos back, and that was because you cover the whole hypnagogic state, the programming that you're susceptible to until you're age 7. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It's so perfect, right? It sets us up.
Architect, right? The maker. Oh, congrats! Yeah, did such a fabulous job screwing me up from the beginning.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for allowing me to be blank slated and programmed with garbage information that it took me 50 years to get rid of. Thanks. Really good job.
True.
Yeah, and like we're innocent, right? We're infants, we're children. We're not capable of processing the information as well. I mean, again, the early childhood development and just how it impacts us is another massive red flag about how this place works. If you're young and ignorant and you can't even necessarily communicate properly with your parents or anyone around you, and then you're on top of it a sponge for the information that you're surrounded by, like teachers, like parents, like anyone, friends, parents, friends, religions. It's the perfect storm.
It's the perfect way if you're making beings to produce loosh through chaos and conflict. How more perfect of a system could you have? You create people susceptible to garbage information, which will then lead them down a path of having all these issues and conflict with other people. When they run into people that have different programming, don't match theirs, they believe something different, and you're going to have conflict all the way up to the big level where you have wars. And all that loosh comes out.
Well said,
shake the hand of the maker, please.
That was good, man. That was good.
All right.
So I think we got one or two more, and then we'll wrap things up. I really appreciate you taking the time tonight, Dan.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Joshua Carpenter asks, any thoughts on the ancient Egyptians and their ideas of death and rebirth? I suspect the Great Pyramid had something to do with leaving this place.
Wow, that is deep, because there's so many mysteries there. I'm not even sure the true origins of the pyramids. But the Sphinx definitely doesn't jive with what we're officially told. Mm-hmm. It's got water erosion on it.
Oh, yeah. John Anthony West.
Yeah,
Robert Schoch.
What is it? And again, they tell you things in movies, right? Stargate. Exactly what were the pyramids? Were they actually the tombs for these pharaohs, or were they built something else and then co-opted as a tomb for a pharaoh and then mimicked later? How many times do humans mimic something? The whole cargo cults thing from the Pacific Islanders in World War II, right?
Right? Yeah.
They
The
recreated
planes are gods.
yeah, planes of bamboo to mimic the aircraft that they. I mean, think about it. These people never saw planes before. Um, I don't know. There's so much mystery with that with the Egyptian stuff. It's very interesting. The ancient when you go ancient and how they viewed the spirit planes.
Yeah, and all, I mean, literally almost all pyramid structures that have some sort of evidence or you know, hieroglyphs like behind them, they all of them talk about the afterlife.
Mm-hmm.
Almost every single one of them. Why is
Yep.
that? Why is that?
You know, it's
You know?
because obviously they knew about it.
Yeah.
They knew about it, and they had access to plants and other things that could help them connect. You know, what's his name? Graham Hancock.
Hancock, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's done a lot of research into the psychedelics. There's that.
Asian Hancock.
Yeah, the Spirit Molecule book from Doctor.
Oh yeah, that's a great book.
In the end, you know, he's a materials doctor. He's like in the last chapter of the book. He's like, yeah, I really can't say that this is just hallucinations. Yeah.
Rick Strassman, right? I think.
Yeah,
is the
yeah,
name.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
there's 3 videos I did on Instagram where I go over the comparisons between NDEs and breakthrough trips with DMT, and they're the same shit. Same shit.
Yep. As soon as you uncork the anchor, or you know, remove the anchor from the human body to the consciousness, it fucking blasts out. It wants to get free. It wants to go.
That's right, bro. That's right. Yeah, I mean, it's really tough to say because you have the Greeks, you have the Mexicans, you have the Egyptians, and they're all like centering so much around death and rebirth and the gods, and it's all about worshiping. It's like, you know.
Thank you.
We're so limited with what we get access to, but there is that commonality with death.
I don't think that real gods need worship.
No.
They there are probably beings that you from our perspective as human, incarnate as human, would appear to be, you know, godlike. But we don't, you know, we don't
maybe I get to 1,000 lives.
have to worship them, I don't think. And nor should they want worship after that. Because, I mean, honestly, if you're that high level of a being, what do you need worship for? I mean, that's kind of
Thank you.
psychopathic.
Thank you.
It's not necessary. If anything, they might want to, you know, if they're out there and they're good, come down here and help us out a little bit. You know what I mean? You don't need any worship for that. But when you help somebody, Mark, doesn't that act alone feel good? Like, you don't even want their thanks.
No.
The act of being able to help somebody else,
maybe half an hour,
feels great.
5 hours.
Absolutely. It's just coming from the heart, right? Coming from, because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, it feels great. You don't need anything in return for it. You don't know. I mean, if you have empathy for people, for beings, other beings, you don't need to be paid back for it. It's just the act of you being able to help them is your reward.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so.
No, anyway, I like that a lot. I like that a lot.
Next question.
I think we're coming close. I'm not gonna hold you hostage much longer, Dan. All right, Emil says, which NDE presentation can I watch where someone faced great anxiety, panic upon meeting the Matrix minions during their NDE?
The most screwed up NDE that I can think of off the top of my head is Howard Storm.
Storm.
That is a wild one. You know, I've had that on my to-do list for a while. I've always been hesitant, but Yeah.
If anybody doesn't know, should I give him a quick brief?
No, of course. Yeah, please do.
A complete and total devout atheist self-admitted that he was so materialist and arrogant, angry, hateful, basically. Goes to France. He's a college professor. He goes to France on some art tour or something. Ends up in a hospital. Ends up dying in the hospital. It doesn't understand that he's out of his body. Angry that his wife is sitting there. He's yelling at her. She's not listening to him. Gets lured by what he first perceives as hospital people to come with him. And as he's going down the hallway, it gets dingier and darker, and they all turn on him, and they're all like these angry, monstrous parasites that do all kinds of vile things to him, because in his mind, he's not even dead. He's a total atheist. He doesn't understand what's going on at first. Then he's being tortured and preyed upon by these things, and he starts praying, and then you get Jesus shows up. And now all these different beings, when he gets pulled out of there, now he's in this completely angelic realm, and he's surrounded by the love and the light bomb. And then he asks them all these questions, which he admits in interviews and in his book that it doesn't match dogma and doctrine. You know, they basically bullshit him into whatever answers they want to give him. And then, when I read his book, and watched his interviews, I'm like, these are the same beings. They just flipped the script. If you really look at what's going on, at first they attack him negatively, and then they prey upon him with love and light bombs. And he then becomes a minister. Talk about a screwed up NDE. He has a total life change. And but you read his information, right? What do you think?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it's no, I mean, I'm with you. It's just he's one of those NDEs that is massive. It's one of the huge stories out there, and I also think his NDE is a catalyst to funnel others who have had bad experiences into rationalizing the Matrix. And that's where I have a problem. I also think someone like probably get in trouble for this one, but Eben Alexander.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe him for a minute.
I tell you
I don't believe him.
One that's even more profound than that one. That is so profound and been medically researched to such a great degree that even Wikipedia doesn't mess with it. And that
The
is
shoe? Talking about the shoe?
no, Anita Morjani.
Oh, yeah.
Body's riddled with cancer. She's on her deathbed at hospice. Her family is wealthy. They've spent a lot of money trying to get her best doctors. As a result, they have medical records on this woman from specialists from all over the world.
Oh, yeah, well documented, yeah.
Super documented cancer case. There's no way she can live. She dies in the hospice bed for what to the outside world appears to be, a very short time. Meanwhile, she gets taken to this, she goes into the light, she goes into the paradise realm or whatever, wherever she goes. She meets all kinds of spiritual beings. She learns that the cancer is a result of her own desires, that she was having such a bad experience with certain things that were forced upon her in life, that basically her consciousness was killing her body. Mm-hmm. She kind of, even though I don't think she really understands it, but she empowered herself to come back.
Yes.
And then her body, resuscitates. The doctors are shocked. The family's shocked. And then to make it all even crazier, she tells them immediately she's going to be fine.
Yeah. It gets the clean bill of health.
Then they're like, no, you're going to die soon. And we're surprised you're back. And then basically her entire body heals itself, and there's no cancer left at all.
It's all gone.
It's all gone, and it shows you the power of your consciousness. The placebo and the nocebo effect is on steroids in that one, to like spiritual levels. She kills herself with cancer and then cures herself with cancer. There's zero medical explanation for her cure. Yep. No one can explain it. And her trip to the afterlife, of course, she gets the love and light treatment, and it's all about love, right? She comes back. She's now a good agent for the Matrix Reincarnation system. Yeah. That one's really profound. You really, and didn't they like again 8 or 10 cancer special centers like try to figure out what the hell happened there because they couldn't.
Yeah,
there's so many different doctors involved.
But she became like a bestseller too. I mean, she's like the talk of the town, not just book wise, but these conferences. Sure. I mean,
right, because it's all about love and light.
Yep, exactly. It pushes the narrative forward. It shows instantaneous healing. I mean, on and on. I mean, it's incredible. But I would say like the most profound NDE, which is also a coma story. Let me try and look up the guy's name. I'm sorry, I should have had this right.
You did a big...
The Machine, you remember that one?
Yeah, he did a big show.
Okay, that one was probably he was stuck in he was stuck in a hell loop.
I remember that.
Yeah, that one is absolutely... His name is Robert Mobley, ROBERT MOBLEY. I'll drop a link in the chat. It is completely off the chain, insane. I mean, this one to this day, like just thinking about it disturbs me.
Yep, I remember that.
But here, feel free to check it out. I'll leave it in the chat. Robert Mobley, NDE, coma, hell. I'm just gonna say it flat out. Go into that one when you're having an okay day. Don't go into that if you're depressed or having. True. I mean, it's just really it's extremely disturbing. But that case just oh my god, my heart just crushes for him. Crushed. And he's confined to a wheelchair. Last I knew, still. I mean, really, really difficult. In short, I'm not going to make this long, but he claims like the machine broke him, and what it was showing was, so he was like in a field or something like that, and the Matrix kept showing him his child, in like times like hundreds of thousands of versions of his child being like ate up and thrown through like some farm equipment or just horror, absolute horror.
I gotta be honest with you, Mark. I couldn't listen to that whole one.
I don't blame you. I almost didn't do it.
That was too disturbing, and I was like, yeah, I gotta check out this one.
That's why it's so hard, man. It's so hard to do.
I mean, there's some of the 99% of what you put out there I find absolutely fascinating, all the minute details, but that one was wow. I was like,
he's like in a Burger King or something, and he's on a loop. He's like in this hell loop, like in Burger King, and he's like in a mech warrior suit, and he just keeps getting destroyed, and then it repeats, destroyed, repeats, and then he ends up. I mean, it is the most disturbing case I've ever run across, and I don't blame you for not listening to the rest of it. I know
I listened to most of it, but it was like, okay, this is like
so sick. All right. I'm sorry. We'll move along here.
Let's leave it on a positive note. Anything positive?
Let's see. Chloe says, maybe this was a response to Vegan Skeptic. I apologize. All right. So, well, we can ask it. It's a quick one. And then there's one more after this, and we're done, Dan. Okay. So Chloe asks, when you have an OBE, are you able to interact with others? Two things hold me back: not wanting to be floating around alone out there and meeting scary beings.
Yeah, shit.
Well, yeah and no. I mean, there's plenty of cases where OBEers are able to, connect with their loved ones, but in the morning they don't remember.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. They don't remember because they're not in a lucid state.
Not lucid enough, yeah.
If you're having a true OBE, you're out of your body and you're totally awake, lucid. You know everything that's going on, where you're at, everything. And you might help like your relative or friend or loved one come out of their body, or maybe they're floating above their body as they're sleeping anyway. And you can maybe even wake them up, wake up their out of body, astral body. And then you end up in this thing where you have this shared experience. In the morning, they have no memory of it.
Yeah. No, that was. See, the thing is with OBs, yeah, you're able to interact with others. And I think early on in OBE practice, it's there's nothing wrong with that. But eventually, I think the purpose is really to grow out of the interactions and test your true abilities, right? Like your sovereign abilities to push the narrative, to push forward. I mean, William Buhlman himself talks about how he was stuck kind of roaming around and farting around in the lower astral for 10 years. 10 years until he really started to see further practice. And like, even with what we heard with Monroe tonight, he kind of implied the same, not like the same duration, but I mean, maybe even longer actually in his case. But you can tell that like it's a work in progress. But if you know that you control the show right here, right now, you can maybe move past all of that. But when you're dying, when you're on your way out, there's no doubt about it. I mean, you can control it, but you just have to be firm in your resolve, stand up, and never let anything seep its way in. So, anything you want to add there before we move on to the last question? You want to make
an exit. Yeah, you want to make an exit like a Canadian. Yeah. You guys have been great. Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah, peace. Good luck. Don't reincarnate.
See you later. You guys have been fantastic. Yeah. Thanks to all my family members and friends, everybody. You're all good.
I hope you make it out.
Yeah, hope you make it out. See you later.
Okay, last question. Question for Dan. Can we claim back our brainwashed higher self, or do we leave it behind? I'm sorry I don't have a name, but I know someone left that, so I'll repeat that one more time. Says, can we claim back our brainwashed higher self, or do we leave it behind?
I would think that once we get ourselves back together, we're no longer brainwashed. Like I got rid of my brainwashing here in my human brainwashing. It took me years. Yeah. I didn't start trying to get to where I'm at. I was actually looking for something entirely different that had to do with my, at the time, religion I was born into. It eventually led here because I was more interested in finding something that made total sense than trying to float cognitive dissonance. And, I have to try to justify this. And got to run to the apologist to explain this problem. Eventually, I just there's something wrong with me. It's not, this doesn't make any sense. I'm following a program. I'm not, so if I could get rid of that here in this pathetic, lowly human form, I imagine that once my consciousness gets free of all that, I could just shit can any bad information, get the hell out of here, intact. Yeah. Right? So,
yeah. No, I really like that. I think claiming back ourselves while we're in here is just look, we still go to sleep every night, we still wake up every morning, and still have to pay bills, still have to go to work, still have to do all the monotonous bullshit, fill the gas tank, take a dump, take a leak,
Matrix business.
I mean, everything, right? I mean, so that's kind of just the ABCs of the Matrix business, like you said. But it's all about, I think, how we choose and decide with all of our other time to interact and involve ourselves with Matrix BS. And what the system is really relying on is for us to fall into the boxes that it has set up. So it's hoping that you'll do your 9 to 5, you'll do everything that you're supposed to do because you're a responsible adult and moving forward, and just trying to keep the lights on
1,000 likes
and keep peace in your life. But then there's kind of like this whole other umbrella of the endless needless bullshit that is out there that it's hoping that you continue to stay sucked into, like the news, like the radio, like all the propaganda, everything that's out there. That's what it's hoping that you latch onto too. So disconnecting yourself from all of the monotonous BS that's trying to continue to keep you programmed is key. For instance, in short, like I've talked about this before, for instance, YouTube, you can go to, like you have your subscription page, right? But you also have your home page. And I did find when, especially when the whole thing started a few years back ago, I made it a point, and I was already kind of working on this before, but when the whole thing started, the best button on YouTube's social media is do not recommend channel. Do not recommend channel. Making sure that you weed out not just all sides of the spectrum, all the news stations, and as soon as you see one of them pop up, click do not recommend. It takes a few months. It could take 6 months or a year, but the point is eventually you get to the point where you're never going to see much BS pop up unless there's like a really, really massive realm-wide thing that occurs. Then there may be a little bit in peace that pops up here and there. But guess what? That's your moment to weed out the rest of it. I mean, and make sure that you're not interacting with negative BS or things that are trying to suck you in. Customizing your life, making sure that notifications aren't popping up on your phone all the time. Like the only notification I have that pops up is, and even then, like I don't have the sound for it, is text messages. That's it. Just making sure that you're minimizing your interaction with the overall matrix so that it doesn't have an opportunity to sneak in and drop you a headline or drop you the latest thing that tries to suck you back in. I mean, it's little small things, right?
Yeah.
So that's all. I mean,
that's true. Yeah, I stopped watching like news channels a long time ago. If anything, I'm more interested in like gaming news, or something like that. Something
get lost, right?
Distraction, Like I got a big kick of the whole Jennifer Lawrence thing that happened the last couple of days.
What happened there?
She made a comment that she's retracted it.
Oh,
she has,
okay, one of those things.
She has retracted it, but she was giving an interview to Variety magazine, and she made this insane claim that before her starring in Hunger Games, that she was the first woman to lead an action movie.
Okay. And
then, of course, minutes later, it was like, well, Sigourney Weaver, Alien, Uma Thurman, Kill Bill. There was a Kate Beckinsale, Underworld, Whiteout. It's endless. The list was endless, and it was funny. Variety had to pull the tweet down. And 48 hours later, she's like, "Dang, I did not know this." She claims that she had dropped out of middle school, and basically she's not, extremely well educated and school wise, and she has problems doing interviews where she says things that she didn't mean to say. But I'm like, have you not seen a movie before 2012? I mean, how do you not know? I mean, stuff like that, it's distraction, it's entertainment, but I tend to avoid all the endless chatter of the news thing. It's all about it's also a louche factory. If you watch the
100%.
news, it's designed to upset you.
Yep. Designed to get emotions, good or bad.
It just continuously upset you, and I'm like, I've had enough of this garbage.
Enrage you.
I don't need to know any of this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Who cares? Who cares? It's just like I think really the biggest lesson I learned probably in my entire life is, besides the bullshit that goes on here in general, it's just in how it's like a soul trap. But one of the biggest things is look, we're in our perception bubbles right now. You can choose to not watch the stream. You can choose to watch something else. You can choose to click on an article. You don't have to do it. You don't have to know that all these other things are going on out in the world, and you can close them off because you choose not to click or whatever. But once you click, that's it. You fall down exactly where they want us to be.
Exactly. It's no different. In the afterlife, you can choose not to listen to anything.
Yes. Love it, Dan.
I'm opt out of this. I don't want to, stop, stand down, go away. I'm in my own little bubble here. I don't want to be bothered until I figure shit out. That's it. Yeah.
That was great, Dan. All right. I'm not going to hold you hostage anymore. I'm not going to keep you in the soul trap.
Thanks for having me, Mark. Thanks for everything.
Thank you, brother.
I hope that people found this informative and useful in their research. Because we're not here to tell you what to think.
For the likes.
We're simply telling you, well, this is where the research led me, that your research led you, and you got to do your own and figure out your own way. Don't depend on other people to tell you what to think.
Thank you, Dan. That's so important, right? I mean, I say that almost every video. It's like, our channels, the information we're sharing should only be a stepping stone. And if you're doubting things or whatever, or even, it doesn't matter whether you're doubting or not. If you're new to all this, go out and do your own research. And you have to look at all the experiencer categories. You have to take into account everything that's going on here, everything. And then lump it into one and say, does this make sense? Is everything as advertised? And if you kind of come away saying that, oh yeah, it all makes sense, then, I'm sorry, but it just doesn't fit. But at the end of the day, if you're new to this or early on in the research, it may take a year, 2 years. And what Dan, Wayne, and myself are trying, Wayne Bush at, by the way, trickbythelight.com, a plethora of resources available. Check out Wayne.
Massive information.
Yeah. I mean, if you kind of combined all of our work together and then use it as a catalyst for your own research, it kind of cuts out a lot of the hard work in between that you have to do. And it makes it easier to see it. And it still may take a year or two, or maybe longer, maybe less. I mean, it really depends where you've been looking over however many years. But it's hard to say that. I mean, most people that have been see what we're talking about, they'll come away, they'll do their own research, and they'll say, yeah, I mean, I see it. It's a little different for everyone. It's just, some people see it quicker, some people it takes a little longer, but don't let, this is not a negative topic. It really isn't. I mean, you take what's going on out there, that's really negative, but you take in everything as a whole and then realize that, look, the real prize is shielding, sovereignty, liberation, creating your own realm, and protecting yourself. What is negative about that? But apparently it's a fundamentalist thinking, Dan, apparently.
I don't see how. But basically saying we're on our own.
Yeah.
You come in here alone and you leave here alone.
Yeah.
You get escape
And see what
velocity.
happens.
Yeah,
Just see what happens. That's it.
You get that escape velocity as well.
Ay. All right, Dan. It's
All right,
been a lot of
see
fun.
you.
I got to wrap up a
Everybody,
few things here
have a
before
good
we.
night
Yeah.
or a
Thank
good
you for your
day
time
or
tonight, brother.
wherever you are. Bye bye,
Yeah.
everybody.
Take
I'm gonna
care of
leave.
yourself.
I'm gonna click the leave button now, right?
All right, brother. Sounds good. Okay.
All right.
Thanks for coming on. We'll talk soon,
Okay.
man.
All right. All two of you are left. Nanaki toughed it out. And who else toughed it out? Chris walked away. Mark's still here after all this time. Good job, Mark. Hey, listen, this is some pretty deep stuff that you really need to reflect on. It might not seem that way at first glance. It might seem a little bit strange, but I'm telling you, it's important stuff. It's very important stuff to deal with the totality of your essence of you. And to confront the fact that we all are, in a, what they call a loosh factory, a trap. This just might be the true hell. Something to think about. The underworld, if you will. In which maybe we do. If we love this world so much and we really value all these things, that we will just keep coming back and back and back and back until we realize we're not supposed to be loving this place. We're trying to get the heck out of this place. Where did Jesus come in all this? I know these guys don't want to talk about Jesus. They don't believe in it. But I do believe that Jesus is our brother, our role model, our way out. How is that to be? Well, we have to look at his the teachings that actually have any meaning in our life today. And we have to let go a lot of the baggage of this world and the hive mind and the group think. This is true. Unfortunately, now I'm speaking, no one's hearing. But that's the way it goes. And the thing is, it's been a long recording, it's been a long show, whatever. But the fact of the matter is that we are dealing with something that is much deeper than even the sacred books that we have of the past have saying, because we're in a different time of this realm. Actually, if you really look into and read between the lines and stop being so dogmatic about the scriptures, you'll see clearly examples of those who did astral plane, who did go to the other side, who did interact with the spirit realm. Look at the book of Revelation. What was John on? What was he doing, man? How about Paul in 2 Corinthians? What was going on there? Reincarnation? Well, they do make a pretty not so subtle hint when Jesus claims that John the Baptist was actually Isaiah, or Elias, or whatever you want to say it, Elijah, whatever. What were they really trying to share with us? Is it really, how much of the stories are that important to us than the little nuggets of truth that they always hide in plain sight and share to us? Yes, I do believe when they say we must die of, how do they say this? They must say die to yourself. When they say die to this world, give up this world, give up all the things about this world, and focus on getting out of here, overlooking this world, as is said. Try to, at least for me, that's what I want to be. I am a natural wallflower. I'm an observer. They got stuck in this system. I want to go back to my observation deck, my post. Jesus talks about there are many mansions for us. That means there's different places for each and every one of us, right? If you love the group think and you love the group and you don't mind all the gossip and all the hypocrisy and all the lying and all the deceiving, go back into the group. Go back into the light. As for me, I want to go beyond the lights, or lights, plural. I want to go beyond all this. I want to get out of this place. Don't like any of it. Don't find any of it all that enjoying. There's a reason why we're addicts and why we get high all the time and do drugs and get drunk and look at pornography and all this. It's not because you're a bad person or an evil person. It's because you're trying to escape the reality of the matrix that you and I are in. It's a nightmare. And we develop bad habits to try to escape. But we're only fooling ourselves, right? So how do we get out of this? I think it's a good idea to follow Jesus. You don't have to. Maybe it won't help. These guys that we're listening to, they don't think following Jesus is a good idea. But I'll tell you one thing, they did share an awful lot of truth. For me, I want to get the heck out of here. My hope is that actually Jesus is part of the answer. I recognize that the spirit realm certainly does fear that name. They recognize that name. Most sorcerers and most witches and most magicians, they don't recognize the name. They're much cleverer than us. They hide that truth from you and I. They don't feel they have a need to be your pastor or to evangelize you. But they know it's true. It's not about religion. It's about the getting the hell out of this place. We all want to get the hell out of this place. And if we're honest about it, there's a reason why we do everything in our power to escape the reality that we are in. Stuck in. Each and every one of us. We create illusions for each other, to deceive each other. But really, in truth, we're deceiving ourselves. Yeah, you can have a big mansion here, and you can have big cars, and you can have trophy wives, and you can have everything in this world, and you're just as trapped as everyone else, even more so. It's a brutal reality. It's a brutal truth. We spin our tales. We spin our little fables. That aren't even ours for that matter. For the most part. Only to find ourselves empty and nowhere still. We're still stuck. How do we get out of this matrix? That is the quest. That is how we escape Plato's cave. That's how we get out of this mess, is that we have to find ourselves again. We have to find ourselves. We talk about this all the time, right? Throughout life, I'm discovering myself. I'm trying to find my true self. Well, why is that? Well, the reason why that is because we live in a matrix of lies and deceptions and rules. How you're supposed to play the game to be quote-unquote successful. Successful in what? How many of us even ask these deeper questions? We play our little games with each other. But, it's funny. We'll fight with each other about stuff. Creating the loosh. Takes two to tango, right? Anybody can create loosh. That's what we are, little batteries to create loosh. Through our emotions and our feelings and our frustrations and our anger and our lusts and our passions. It's not just us that are getting it. or being fed by it or experiencing life, there's a whole, what do I want to say? I wanted to say creation, but that's not the right word. There's a whole realm around us of spiritual entities sucking on us, drawing on us, just feeding on us. How many guys you know, they're on top of the world. They're the king of the hill for a moment, right? And then it's pulled out from under them. It's happened to me. And you look back, you try to blame yourself and say, oh, it must be something I did wrong. It was
All
not.
right. See you, bye, everybody.
It was not that I did anything wrong or you did anything wrong. We were just exploited. We were just used. We're useful dupes. We're useful pawns in their game. Don't have to be preaching about this, but it's the way it is. It's funny, and nobody wants to be honest about it. We'll fight and we'll argue about scriptures and about this, that, and, this group or that group, or our identity is through the group, isn't it? That's not an identity. That's all a mere reflection of a loss of identity. Think Merlin times 1,000,000. That's who you are. And your essence has been stolen. That's the truth. You're more than the language that you speak. You're more than the math that you do. You're more than the clothes and the presentation and the actor that you are. You're much, much more. We're much, much more. But we have to find ourselves again. This is what the journey is really about. It's not knowing the history of some group of people that lived 2,000 years ago. It's to find yourself. They don't want you to find yourself. They want you stuck in history. They want you stuck in the news. They want you stuck in the latest controversy. They want you stuck bickering and arguing and saying this and that, and I'm right and you're wrong, and arguing about shit we couldn't prove our life depended upon it. Oh, it's true. It's right there in those words on the page. Oh, is that the truth? Since when is simple words on a page the absolute truth? No, there's something called spell casting that's been going on all along. This is not New Age nonsense. I'm not talking mysticism. I'm not talking any isms. I'm speaking the truth. And the truth is, you and I are stuck in this matrix. A louche factory where we feed these entities with our emotions and our confusions and our delusions and our arguing and our passions and blah, blah, blah. And we don't even realize it. Now you know. Now the question is, if I am right, and if Mark and the other guy is right, and everyone else is right that's trying to tell you this, even Bob was trying to tell you this, Bob Monroe was trying to tell us that. I shouldn't point the finger at you. There's 3 pointing back at me. And trying to tell us this truth. How come we can't hear it? How come we haven't heard it? How come this is such a rare message? How come pastors aren't saying this? How come priests aren't saying this? How come presidents and gurus and blah, blah, blah aren't telling the truth about what's really going on? Because they don't know the truth, first of all. And secondly, as it always is, it's always about manipulating other people so to make ourselves feel more important in this realm, more meaning in this realm. Truth is, none of us have any meaning in this realm except for one thing. We're little batteries in this loose factory to feed the entities that are draining us. these parasites, these archons, these evil spirits, these unclean spirits, these jinns and blah blah blah. Yeah, there's all sorts of names. Fallen angels and blah blah blah. You can find the 72 demons, and it just goes. And by the way, they just represent nothing. Not even a drop in the bucket. You know, you and I haven't even learned a drop in the bucket about what's really going on around us. You can't. You can't until you step away. You have to detach. You have to unhook. Just like the Matrix. You have to unhook. You must pull out those, I don't know what to say, feeding tubes. It's like we're connected with a billion G tubes feeding these things. It's just symbolic what I'm saying. It's not literal. The fact of the matter is that we're in a terrible situation. And we argue and we fight and we bicker about shit that don't matter and ain't gonna matter. Never will matter. What matters is, how are you going to get out of this mess? You can't help anybody if you can't figure out how to get out of this mess. You have no real power unless you figure out how to get out of this mess. It's all an illusion. I don't mean to be rude, and I don't mean to be cruel about the whole thing. I don't mean even to be talking down to people. But somebody has to speak out. Someone has to say, hey, listen, this game's really damn stupid. Someone has to do it. I don't want to be the one to do it, but I'm doing it. And I'll keep on trying to do it. And you know what, Nanaki, maybe you might be the only one that hears the truth. Maybe you're the only one who's prepared to know the truth. You know, the fun thing is, we bicker and fight and judge each other and say this, that, and the other. And you know what? None of us know each other. We don't even know ourselves. And so what we do is project our frustrations and our confusions and our delusions on others. Instead of being honest and say, you know what? I don't have a clue who the hell I am, except for one thing. I am strapped down. I am trapped in this matrix of lies and deceptions. And maybe you want to stay in it. Maybe you're very comfortable with it. We do get very comfortable, don't we? Because it's like Stockholm Syndrome. We love our masters. Oh, we say we don't. We don't even know what our masters. The truth is, your master is my master. We don't even see him physically. We'll never see him physically. Until we're the other side and we say, no. I demand my essence back. I demand myself. I demand my freedom, my sovereignty. We have to fight predeterminism. We have to fight this system. Or we'll just be recycled in the system. Funny thing is, Christianity and the Abrahamic faiths, a lot of them, they tell you about reincarnation, but they pretend it's not real. Why is that? Why do the ancient cultures talk about reincarnation? Were they all just stupid? Or did they freaking figure it out? And they try to tell the truth to people, but no one listens. Very few people listen. I would argue that 1 in a million actually listens to the truth. Because it's painful. And detaching and disconnecting is extremely painful. And we don't want to go through that pain, do we? I know I don't, but I also know I have to do it. This detaching comes from within inside. You know, you can go out and live in the woods in a tent for years or in a cabin, and you're still going to have to detach. It doesn't matter if you're in the middle of a city or out in the country in a boat in the middle of the ocean, you're going to have to detach. Now, how do we do that? That's the question. Well, one of the things, we need to start listening to these people who have had near-death experiences and had, did their astral planning and it had been on the other side and have the capacity to report things and read between the lines. I don't want to come back. There ain't a thing in this world I love. There's not a thing in this world that I love. Nothing. Don't get me wrong. That doesn't mean I don't care about my fellow human beings. I'm talking about this world. There's not a thing. You know, I love petting a beautiful puppy. I love spending time with my son and all those kind of things, figuratively speaking. I know that's a contradiction. But in the end of the day, if some entity said, Mike, once I get to the other side, you need to go back and you need to hang out with your son. You got special missions to do. You know what I'm going to say to these entities? Bullshit. I'm coming with a freaking sword of righteousness, energy, and I'm going to kick some ass on the other side. That's what I'm going to do. Anything I have to do to get the hell out of here. Because I know I can't truly help my son until I am on the other side. And I know no one else can do as well. Until we get our true essence back and who we truly are, we are just trapped rats. Bipedal rats in a cage. Going from one cage to the next, design labyrinths, convenience. Could be worse, right? My poor ancestors, they had to tromp around in the swamp and the mud and everything for thousands of years. How to way out? We have to follow the example of Christ. It's not about religion. It's not about religion. If you want to make it religion, you just threw yourself back into the matrix while he's been offering a helping hand to help you get out of the matrix. It's the honest truth. You're right, Chris. It might be. In which case, if there's nothing else but the void and the abyss, I'm still going there. You said, what do you mean? Listen, I don't enjoy this ride. I didn't want to come here in the first place. And only thing that's happened to me, along with billions upon billions upon billions, and we're talking not just 10 billion or 20 billion, we're talking, if you just even do the math and just go back 30 some generations, now we're over 100 billion people that have lived on this godforsaken place and have suffered outrageously for what? It's very important to follow the example of Jesus. Jesus is our brother. He set the way. He set the example. But at the same token, we have to be honest too about things, is that, you know, if you're going to... See, the job is not to change this world. The job is to change you. Right? We can't change this thing. All we could do is change ourselves some way, somehow, like a prisoner in, in the state penitentiary or federal prison, is finding a way to get his ass out of there. Think about Escape from Alcatraz. Think about the Escape from New York City. Think about the Matrix. Think about the fact that we are in this situation. If we're honest about it now, if we're truly honest about it, and maybe you love this situation, maybe you're one of those that love it. I don't love it. I've tried my damnedest to love it, and I don't love it. I don't like this existence, and I don't want to be here again, and I don't want to be in a state of perishing. I want to be in a state of flourishing, and the only way I see out is to follow the example of what Jesus did. My job is not to make any... Hey, Chris. My job is not to make any disciples of anybody. You know what my job is? Is to speak the truth. Knowing full well that most people are just going to run away. My job is not to change anybody. I cannot do what God does. You cannot do what God does. None of us can do what God does. We're just under a delusion if we think so. We're using our ego and our own force to cause really more frustration than anything. Simply speaking, the truth is about the most loving thing that a person can do. You know why that is? Because 99.9% of people are going to run away from it. Therefore, run away from you. It's called speaking the truth. And it's very hard to find, and it takes a lot of effort, an extreme amount of effort. And you're going to have to be willing to challenge all your paradigms and all your belief systems. It's an absolute must. It's an absolute must. You don't get out of it. You know, we have roles, they say, to play, right? But there's no truth in that. There's no evidence in that. It's just that we blindly follow the directors instead of being directors ourselves. It's not egotistical. It's not arrogant. It's not selfishness. Far from it. Speaking the truth is the most generous thing a person can do. It's not going to make you popular. People aren't going to love you for it. People are not going to be clamoring for you. People aren't going to want to hang out with you because of it. But what's more important anyways? Is it worth selling your soul, your essence, in order to be loved by others? No, it isn't. I can tell you right now, it's not. It's what it is draining, destroying, creating delusions upon delusions upon delusions upon delusions. That's the way it goes, bro. That's the way it always goes, and nothing's going to change. Anyways, let's see who's here. I don't know if there's anybody here that wants to talk, but if you want to talk, I'll tell you what I'll do. We'll take a little break. I think I'll find some cool music before we take a little break. And it will not be Christian music. I'm sorry for those who want that. But it doesn't mean it's not cool music.
You're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. If you are going to try, go all the way. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, jobs, and maybe your mind.
Running won't break.